down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Whiskey Musings broadcast. I'm your venerable host, Rick, and hey, I gotta tell you, this week has been kind of an up and down for me. Had my birthday this week, so happy birthday to me. And, well, I had a few things happen during the course of the week as well. Not necessarily going to talk about them right now, but I can certainly let you know that they were a little life-changing for me in terms of making me think a little bit more about my life. And considering the fact that I'm another year older, I've decided to make a few changes in terms of how I am appearing and things of that nature. As you can see, I mean, my hair's a little bit longer here. And as my wife and family just found out, the purpose of this is just to change my look, number one, but also I've pretty much decided that what I am likely going to do down the road is go ahead and donate after I'm done with this little look, donate my hair to like someplace like Locks of Love or something along those lines. I wanted to change a little bit of something in myself. I mean, you know, new year, new look. And now, of course, the whole COVID-19 coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, has definitely helped because I don't have to go to the hairstylist with the idea that I'm growing my hair out. So anyway, so on to that subject, you know, last time I did this broadcast, the video didn't come through quite as well. And so I'm hoping that this time things are looking a little bit better. And it's not as hitch-like, apparently, because my CPU was pegged pretty hard. And I mean, I could get into the whole technical details, but I'm not going to go ahead and do that. So one thing that I did want to mention is that there are a lot of things that are going around. I mean, I know we're bored and that kind of stuff, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to take a moment to sort of step out of this fun and relaxed kind of person into more of a security conscious kind of person. Keep in mind all of these little quizzes and questionnaires and things of that nature that are going through on Facebook. And some probably some other locations. Keep in mind that the hackers are very well aware of the fact that you are out there looking at all of these things and reacting a lot more to what's happening in the world, and you're trying to interact better with friends and neighbors and those kinds of things. So you're more apt to jump into those questionnaires, things like, you know, what school did you go to? What was your dog's name? Some of those things. And keep in mind those questions that you see on those questionnaires, they actually correspond with a lot of security questions, things that have to deal with changing your password on several accounts. And so one thing that you can do in order to avoid getting hacked or have your password changed or any of that is, unfortunately, don't participate in those things or make sure that the answers that you put are not the same answers that you've actually used as a part of a password recovery system for one of your accounts. This way you can make sure that, you know, a hacker, if it is generated by a hacker indeed, or if a hacker is actually watching your answers and responses, that you can be certain that they are not going to actually use the answer that you've used for recovering your password or for changing it. So just a small piece of advice from a person who, not personal experience, but since I do work in the IT industry, that's just a little piece of advice that I want to pass on to the rest of you. So anyway, well, now I'm going to take that hat off and flip over to another hat. And so one of the things that has happened in out there in a lot of places is there's been a lot of things going around, you know, a bunch of funny memes, things like that. But my sister actually sent me something And I'm going to bring it up here, and excuse me, but age, got to read. And I want to read this to you because I thought it was kind of interesting. So it's not attributed to anybody. So, and I'm not going to claim this as my work, but just to give you all a little bit of an interesting twist. So this is to the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." I know, kids, I don't like Christmas elsewhere, but this is a special occasion. So anyway, let me go ahead and read this to you. "'Twas the night before quarantine, and all through the town, not a restaurant was open, not a school bus was found. Hand sanitizers were placed by all doorposts with care, in hopes that corona would never come there. The children were swinging from crystal chandeliers, and the stir-crazy babies were almost in tears. With everyone in health masks and live updates on their screens, we hunkered down and waited for COVID-19. For into our lives with a sneeze and a cough came a global pandemic and a crash of the stocks. Away to the grocery we all flew like a flash and bought all the toilet paper for our personal stash. As the moon slowly rose on our fates and our fears, what to my wandering mind should appear? In the absence of business, a new life taking form. In the stillness of solitude, in the silence of the storm. In the magic of together and homebound company, rediscovering connection in our family. So with the pup in her kennel and the children in their beds, a new visions of adventures now danced in my head. The checklist could wait, and the bank accounts would be fine, for we had been given the most sacred gift of time. So I gathered the markers and crayons and paints. I collected the Nerf guns and assembled board games. With a wink and a smile, I moved on to schoolwork, math, facts, and science, and vocabulary words. I laughed as I thought, in spite of myself, what if quarantine can heal our emotional health? If the birds are still singing, if the flowers still bloom, surely the sunshine can overcome our gloom. If we set aside fear and choose kindness instead, maybe we'll all begin to realize we have nothing to dread. I tucked back into bed and smiled up at the moon, for a peace had replaced the impending doom. So take heart and take hope through this curious plight, and happy quarantine to all until we're allowed to reunite. Now, obviously the message here is to make sure that we all know that this is something that's realistically temporary, and that we are going to get through this. And that's the main thing that I think that we want to be able to pass along to everyone. So the key here is that we have time. We have time to join in with our families and to reach out to people that we haven't reached out to in a while. And this is really apropos. I mean, I had a couple of friends that I haven't spoken to in a little while, and they reached out to me. It was nice to be able to get back together to talk to them. Now, granted, it kind of sucks that we can't necessarily, see each other. But the key here, though, is that we have to be able to understand that although this time is important, it is just as important for us to foster those relationships that we have, to further the relationships that we have with our children and our friends and our neighbors. I'm honestly, I'm kind of more of an introvert than anything else. I mean, you can ask my family, but at the same time, I also realize that this is a very important time for us to be able to rekindle some of the things that we used to have as a group, as a family, as a society, and to forget the fact, and even though I'm coming to you on digital media, and I know this is really going to sound like I'm preaching something that I probably should be following myself, but to basically use the digital age and the digital world for the things that we normally may not be able to do, like information and that kind of stuff, but also to rekindle things within our own families. And instead of allowing the kids to have their electronic leashes at dinner time and, let them text and things like that, but have a family sit down dinner. Have some time to sit and get together with your family and play some games. I mean, my birthday night, we played Phase 10. And for those of you that don't know it, it's a dice game. It basically has multiple things, sort of like a Yahtzee on steroids, for those of you that remember Yahtzee. And, it's been a while since we, as a family, have sat down and done that, because everybody is so impacted to go their own way and to do their own thing. And it was nice to sit down and have some of that time. So I encourage all of you to take this time to rekindle some of those things, to work with your family and take the time to really focus upon the things that you've been given, and not so much the things that have been taken away. And believe me, I understand, not having a reassuring thought process in terms of income. I mean, most are out of work. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there. There's a lot of the news media is even just kind of throwing it on there. But the reality is that we need to take a look at what gifts we've been given and the things that we have today. And it's like I told my kids at my birthday dinner, they felt sorry because they didn't, quote, have gifts. But to me, the greatest gift was the fact that we were all together and that we were healthy and that we were safe, because nothing would really make it harder for me, especially as a father, to know that my kids are not safe and that my kids are not, taken care of, and those kinds of things. Those are really big factors that I think that a lot of us have been taking for granted, especially over the past several years. And for me in particular, because my son and daughter are in so much activities, and I feel bad because, I'm working all the time and things like that. And I understand the importance of it, but I really think that we need to take this time to remind ourselves the reasons why we go to work, the reasons why we do things, for our families, and not so much focus on what it is for ourselves, because that's what this newest generation in society seems to be focused on, is always the me part. And that's not the case. We need to focus on other things in our lives with our family and our friends, and really take the time to reach out and maybe do it in a different format than what you've normally done. I mean, I FaceTimed with my mom. I've never FaceTimed. I don't do FaceTime. But I did. This was pretty cool. I mean, video calling is something that I'm aware of, but I've never really done it. But it was cool to reach out to her and talk to her and be able to see her expression in her face, because there's so much that gets missed, even through just speaking or when we write something. I mean, text is so bland. It can be misconstrued because the same words mean so much different when there's context and meaning behind it. And a lot of our communication is nonverbal. It's expressions. It's how things are said. It's the facial expression as it's being said, which is part of the reason why I decided to do a video format, as I wanted to be able to express to you in ways that, I know that I cannot do through just written word. So anyway, so that's my thought of the day about that, as far as that goes. Whew, that was a lot. Sorry about that. Sort of going on a monologue. All right, so I'm watching the chat windows. If you wonder why I'm looking down, I'm watching some of the chat windows here, and I'm trying to see if there's anything that I need to take care of or look at or whatever. So anyway, for those of you that are thinking of maybe you're out of a job, maybe you've been laid off, furloughed, something along those lines. I do feel for you. I'm not quite there yet, and a lot is going to change. There's a lot of day by day that is going to change, and especially with the new order out of being stuck in our houses until May, at least here in Washington. There's a lot that is going to change. There's things are going to change drastically over time, and I think the biggest thing that we need to understand is patience with all of this time. There's things that change, new information comes up. Keep in mind too that not all of the information that comes out there is true and correct. There used to be this thing called critical thinking, and I think some of it's a skill that people have to gather and people have to get, and you have to train yourself to utilize it. But I think in today's day and age, because of all of the information that we get, and the amount of information that is bouncing around the internet, sometimes we forget that there is so much information out there, and a lot of it is just somebody posting something, and they may not have any factual information. And of course, the news media is trying to get things out quick, and they're trying to put it in your face because, the first to the story is the one that's going to win the story, and the memorization, or it's going to be the memorable part and that kind of stuff. So just keep in mind, be cautious with what's being put out there. Trust but verify, and take the time to maybe bounce ideas off of different places, and keep in mind too that the media has a very large portion, a large place that they get a lot of their information from. It's called the AP Newswire, and all of the media sources get their same information from the same place. And so sometimes it can be mistaken information, and they're not, if you haven't noticed, they're not very good at retracting things once they've put it out there. So just exercise a little caution, exercise a little restraint when it comes to listening to those news stories, and listening to especially the ones that are, like total doom and gloom. That's just my advice to you. Just, keep in mind, not all of it's true. Not all of it's going to be, factual information. Sometimes it's just somebody's opinion that gets misconstrued or written wrong or something along those lines. So focus more on some more of the positive things. Like today. Today was just an absolute great day. For me, it was great. I got a chance to go with my son. He and I took off and we went to do some of our necessary shopping, to go and get some groceries. And it was a simple little thing, but just being able to sit with my 18-year-old son and talk to him was to me, a very positive thing, because I don't get a chance to do that very much. And pretty soon he's going to be off onto college, and he's going to be doing other things, and he's going to be, moving on in his life. And I know that no matter what he does, he's going to want to move on with his life and do things and expand his own life. And pretty soon, I'm going to take a back seat, and his mom's going to kind of take a back seat. And we understand that's moving on with life. I mean, believe me, I'm not complaining. I don't want him to necessarily hang out with me for the rest of his life. He's got his own life to live. I get it. But by the same token, this time has sort of thrown a little bit of interesting perspective in it, in the fact that this is his final year in high school. And yes, that does suck. More on that in a minute. But the fact that I actually got a chance to sit and talk to him, and even just the presence, just him sitting there with me wanting to go with me. Granted, all he did it for was to get out of the house, but it was just the idea that he was sitting next to me and I had a chance to have some one-on-one time with him was phenomenal. It really was. And I like that with my daughter too. I mean, I enjoy that time. I don't tell them that often enough, but I do enjoy that time. And like I said, I'm more of an introvert. I'm kind of a quiet person. I don't really get too involved. I mean, this is as much outgoing as I will probably get for a lot of people. But those times are sometimes special for me, and they are. And I know that they're coming to a close. And then new ones will be made. You know, when in him in particular, when he decides to, you know, if he decides to move on and have a family and that type of stuff, new memories are going to be made and new positions are going to, you know, new things are going to come in life. And so take the time that you've got today to do what you can with them. Anyway, so now, so let's see. Don't drink bleach. Hey, Kirk, don't drink bleach. I'm not drinking bleach. Trust me. Unless you were referring to somebody else drinking bleach. Anyway, this is close enough. I mean, it's, 40% alcohol. But hey, I see I've got some cousins. I've got some other people that have joined. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Believe me, this is, like I said, this is a new venture for me. And I see a gentleman here who I know. I'm not necessarily going to name names, but he'll know who he is. He works as a respiratory therapist. I want to give a shout out to the nurses, the doctors, the orderlies, the grocery store workers, the people that are taking time to make us safe. I saw a post from my brother-in-law here just today where he was saying, he took our local grocery store and was showing how they were disinfecting all the carts. We've been doing so much to try and combat this thing. And the scary part about this is just the fact of it's the unknowns that are scary. It is the unknowns that are scary. And, I go out and I think about it all the time. Whenever I go off to work or to go on those necessary errands, I think about it all the time. I could be carrying it. I could be bringing it home and I wouldn't even know it. And next thing you know, 2 to 5 to 10 days, 15 days later, I'm sick and everybody else is sick. But at the same time, we also have to realize that there are certain things that we can do in order to minimize our risk. He takes care of so many different people. And I applaud that. I respect that. He's a crucial, person on the front lines in fighting this thing. And, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that he's doing this. Yes, it is his job. He chose the job. And it's these kinds of days that, they don't necessarily want this to happen. But I'm glad that he is there. I'm glad that he is doing what he is doing, along with all of the other people that are out there in the healthcare industry, the sanitation workers, the people who are out there every single day. And I don't go out there that often, but when I do, it makes me think. And these people are in the front lines. They are in front of people who are, especially in the medical field, they are in front of the people who have the virus, and they're doing it every day. So people who are in the medical industry, who are dealing with this on a daily basis, I applaud you. I don't think any of us can thank you ever enough. I've always said on multiple occasions that really, we overpay professional athletes. We overpay people who realistically don't have much of an impact on everything that is going on in our lives. I mean, think about this. All of the sports leagues have shut down. And am I sad about that? Well, yeah, because, I like watching sports. I like being entertained just like anybody else. But to go through and look at those people and think of the millions of dollars that they're being paid in comparison to some of the other jobs that we have. It's amazing to me that we don't value other people who are doing important jobs. They're in the trenches every day. And it's not just during the pandemic, but it's just on a regular basis. They're in the trenches every day, and they're doing sometimes a thankless job. And yet we put these other people who, yes, they are phenomenal. They have abilities beyond my recognition. But I can't sit here and say on a really good day that, yes, I absolutely need that person who can go and, put the ball in the hoop, or hit a ball a long way away, or throw a ball really fast, or kick a ball really hard. I don't necessarily need that person in my life, but I darn sure need the post person. I need the grocery store person. I need that truck driver that brings those things to the store. I need that farmer who creates the food and brings it to the store. I need those people, but yet I never see them. I never talk to them. And they are a extremely crucial point in life. And I think that we need to, as we come out of this down the road, as we come out of this, we need to start remembering that. We need to start realizing that there are individuals in our lives and in our world that many times are not focused on. And yes, Kirk, electricians too. Okay. Yeah. Electricians, they keep the lights on. Hello. Internet folks, data folks, we got internet. I mean, think about what this pandemic would look like if we didn't have things like electricity or food or water or, entertainment, other entertainment like Netflix and some of these other places to stream that information to us. If we had none of that, just think of what this thing would be. So even though this is kind of bad and it's a little scary, it could be a heck of a lot worse, folks. A heck of a lot worse. And so I don't want to minimize what's going on, because it is serious, but it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. And it hasn't, directly impacted me, necessarily from somebody getting really sick and dying. As of yet, it hasn't really, nothing's come close, but I know several people have had things come close, and I know several people have had people die. You could just look at the death toll numbers. And those are all very sad. And I feel bad for those people. Words can't really express the sorrow. At the same time, though, it could be a lot worse. And it's not. We hope it doesn't get there. That's part of the reason why we're doing this. That's why we're doing the social distancing. That's why we're doing the limited things going out there. And we're trying to make it so that, my buddy out there who's a respiratory therapist can actually do his job without being overwhelmed. I mean, he's already working a lot of hours, and I've heard stories of nurses and doctors going days on end, which I know that they do. And I hear all of these stories about them and in the heroes in everyday life. And that's what we really need to kind of focus on. Focus on the family. Focus on the heroes in life. Say thank you to those people when you get a chance. Electricians and plumbers and all these different folks that normally you just expect them to do their jobs. You expect them to do what they're doing, and you expect them to be there. And we tend to gloss over them in everyday life. And I think moving forward, we need to thank them. We need to thank our police officers and firefighters and all these people who go forth in front of things and to combat things that we normally wouldn't be doing. But yet, in cases like this, we need to realize that this is a wake-up call. This is something to tell us that things are moving forward, that we still have those people who are willing to go out and do that job every single day to make sure that we have things that we need in order to survive. And we don't think of them very often. And so that's where I think we need to be. So kind of a related topic. I kind of want to take a moment and talk to the people that are out there, the younger folks, may or may not be joining here, but if you have kids, especially ones that are seniors, and you know, my son and I were talking about this today, and the thing that he misses the most, or that he thinks he's going to miss the most, is the fact of walking across that stage and getting the diploma. And honestly, it took me a second to realize that that is a big moment. That is a huge moment in somebody's life. I remember it, but I had the addition to that of being able to walk across the stage in a much more recent history, in the university level when I got my 4-year degree. And so that memory is actually, that to me was even a better memory than just walking across the stage in high school, because high school you were sort of obligated to do it with going to, a 4-year degree or getting your degree and walking across the stage. That was a bigger moment for me. But at the same time, I also realized that these kids that are coming up, they haven't had those other types of events. And, for me, it was like graduating from basic training, graduating from AIT, graduating from high school, graduating from the university. All of these things have happened. And so we need to take a moment and realize that these kids, they have none of that. They have none of those memories. So this is the first major step outside of getting their license that is a really big factor for them. It is a really big factor. And I feel bad for them on this case. I know that my son understands. I certainly hope that other seniors understand, that they understand what is happening and why it's affecting them, and, making sure that they understand and realize that this is a miss. It's a potential miss for those that don't get to do it. Here in our district, we still kind of have that possibility of reopening. But I know some school districts around the country from the news have all been like, oh yeah, we're just going to scrap the rest of the school year. And that seems a little bit callous. But again, kind of sympathize with these kids for a little bit, because as adults, we tend to think about things as, oh yeah, it's an item that happened, or, maybe it was a big thing to you. I don't know. For me, it wasn't that big of a thing going, and graduating from high school necessarily. And if you ask my parents, they might say, oh yeah, it was a real big deal because we weren't sure if he was going to make it. But, anyway, beyond that though, keep in mind, they haven't gotten to the point that we have as adults. They haven't lived through a lot of this stuff. And so we need to take a moment. We need to understand that and at least sympathize with them in the fact that this is a very big moment that they may not get a chance to do the event. They'll still get the diploma. They'll still get the benefit of, graduation from high school, but it's all the ceremony, the pomp and circumstance that tends to make it so much bigger. And it to walk across that stage in front of all of those people to show that you've accomplished something, that's a really big plus to doing this. And it's unfortunate that you're losing that you may end up to the point where you might not be able to do that. And I do feel bad about that. So to be honest, again, I don't really have anything to say necessarily to you other than, keep in mind that there are things that are bigger than that particular thing. And unfortunately, in living a life of an adult, sometimes you have to sacrifice things for the greater good. And it's an unfortunate deal, but it is what it is. And, you'll get a chance to do it again, because after all of this calms down and everything goes away. And I really believe that you will get the chance to have that feeling again sometime. And I certainly hope that some of the parents out there do something special for their kids. Don't say anything. Shh, I'm considering it. Christian, if you're watching, you didn't hear that. Anyway, so yeah, so I mean, keep this in mind. Keep it in mind, especially for those kids, because you just never know. You just never know. So anyway, yes, graduation is a rite of passage, Kirk. That's correct. It is. I agree. Right there with you. Okay. So I have an assignment for you. Okay. You know that little poem that I read, the little 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And if you missed that, go back and watch the video. But I have a little something. That I want you guys to do. This is an assignment for the Whiskey Musings audience. What I want you to do is, and I don't even care if it's good, but it's just something to get your mind off of what's going on. I want you to find a way, and I don't care what it is, a funny way to put together like a poem or a song or, any kind of lyrical way to express your feelings about this situation in a comical fashion. Let's make everybody laugh. And again, I don't even care if it's really all that great. I don't care. The creativity is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the willingness to take the step and step outside of your boundaries, like I've done with this podcast, broadcast, whatever you want to call it. Step outside that boundary and try something new. And even if you don't want to put it, send it to me on Facebook, publish it on the YouTube channel page. You can even do it through Twitter. You can email me. rick@whiskeymusings.net or .online, either one of those places. And send it to me. I want to see it. I want to see your witticism. I want to see the comedy. And if it's good, I may just show it off next time on the next broadcast, because I think we all need to laugh. We need to express ourselves. We need to do something different. So step outside the box. And if you tell me you don't want me to read it on there, fine, whatever. But the point is, I want to see it. So that's your assignment. That's an assignment for you guys to do. And that's do something, whether it's a limerick, a song, a change of a song. I mean, we used to have like Weird Al Yankovic and there's a guy who's on the country, Cletus T. Judd and a few others, change a song, do something different and make it about what's going on here. I don't care what the topic is. It can be anything, but try to make it relevant to today, to where we can laugh about it. Okay. So that's your assignment. I'd like you to try that. I'd like to see what happens there. I think you guys will come up with some really great stuff. I really do. So, all right. Oh, wow. Let's see. I don't want to take too much time here. Oh, looks like we're about 40 minutes into this thing. I don't want to go over an hour. I really don't. So I got about another 20 minutes or so, roughly, to entertain, to talk, to discuss. So let's see. So I'm, as I said at the top of the hour, I'm growing my hair out. Believe it or not, I actually want to grow it long, because I've never really had it long. Those of you that saw me in high school, I had the old MacGyver look. I mean, anybody, Richard Dean Anderson, that was like really cool back in the day. But I want to grow my hair out. I want to get it longer. And because I've never had really long hair. I mean, I left right out of high school, jumped in the service. I've always had short hair. My mom actually threatened at one point, when I had the longer-ish hair of that haircut, she actually threatened if I ever put it in a ponytail, she was going to cut it off. And to be honest, that kind of scared me. Strange as it was, but I never had it. I mean, I had it like right around the collar length, like right here, but I'm going to grow it out. I'm going to make it longer. And Yeah, yeah, it's not going to be a mullet. Sorry, Jeff, not going to be a mullet for the win. It was close. At least back then it was, but I'm not doing that now. No mullet, but I'm just going to let it grow out. And I've always liked, there was like a couple of movies out. There's like The Hitman with Chuck Norris. The hair that he had in that was cool. I don't know if anybody remembers the Highlander series, not the movies, but the Highlander series that had a guy by the name of Adrian Paul, and Adrian Paul had long hair, and I've always been kind of jealous of that. I've never been able to do it, so I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it a shot. Not going to guarantee anything, but I'm going to give it a shot. And yes, my wife is not too happy about it. I was going to grow my beard the same. I was going to let the beard grow out, and I did get it a little long, but then she told me, yeah, you need to cut it off. But anyway, so I'm going to try. I'm going to try and get the longer hair. And the reason why I'm doing is because I've never had it. I've never had it. Call it my midlife crisis. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. But I've never had long hair. And so I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try and get long hair. And then what I'm going to do is after I'm done with it, and I've been told that in order to donate it, you have to have at least 12 inches. So we're talking at least 12 inches of length here, people. At least 12. I mean, 1 foot. That's 1 foot long of hair. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it a shot. So if you see me and I look unkempt, or maybe I'm like wearing a hat when it's hot out or something like that, probably just having a bad hair day, okay? Or if I look like now, I've got my hair kind of slicked back a little bit. Hey, guess what? That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want to try something different. And now that I've been trying to do something different, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then eventually I'm going to cut it off and donate it. That's the whole point. Whole point in a nutshell. I just want to donate it. I've never done it before. I'm going to do it. So, like I said, if you see me with longer hair, don't laugh. Well, actually, go ahead and laugh. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Go ahead and laugh. But I'm gonna grow it out. I'm gonna give it a shot. And maybe you might want to do that. Do something different for yourself. Try something different. Try a change. I mean, this time, honestly, this time is amazing. You can try different things. You can do different things. You may have the time. You may not have the money, but you may have the time. I mean, pick up an instrument and play. Learn it if you're into programming. Learn a new programming language. If you're into maybe learning something different, try learning a new language. Read a book that you wouldn't normally do. I mean, take this time to do something different. This is amazing. Even though it's a bad situation and we understand why it's happening, we get it, but try and do something different. Make a change. Do something different. Here it is the spring. We have the sun. We have, do gardening. If you don't do gardening, do gardening. Try something different. Take this time to maybe focus on yourself. Maybe do a self-improvement project. For me, it's going to grow out my hair. It's going to change something. I'm changing something of myself. And go ahead and do that for you. Go ahead and do that for you. I see a couple other people just joined. I wanted to give a shout out to everybody who's here. Thank you very much. I see, a couple other people that I know, and I'm really glad that you guys decided to join. I hope that this has been fun and a little entertaining for you. Just so you're aware, I am planning on trying to keep this going. The idea is a weekly broadcast like this, where I talk about different topics, and of course, we're whiskey. But I've been wanting to do this for a while. I said this on the last one, and I know the video sucked, so I took it down. But the reason for this broadcast is because I'm trying to find something new. And yes, I'm growing my hair out. That's a change, but I'm trying to find something new, something different. Okay? Something different. And so I've wanted to do this for a while. I've been talking with a friend of mine who is in internet radio. He has been in radio for 30 plus years. He's, doing all kinds of stuff with radio. I've been listening to podcasts. I'm trying something different. I did some things at work where I was doing I was doing instructional videos, which, I have the company has a YouTube channel that I set up. There's only one video up there, but I'm trying to get something new and different, trying to utilize this digital age and get it going, getting a little thing going, something new, something exciting to make a change and make things different. And so I'm trying to make a change. I encourage you to make a change, try something different. Believe it or not, I've been toying around with possibly having guests on this show, and that kind of stuff. So where we can talk and banter. I haven't quite gotten that all set up yet, or haven't got that all figured out just yet, but it's coming. Okay. It's coming. I'm just going to promise you that. And maybe you can be a part of it. I might be able to get a few of you on the show if you're willing and able to jump on this. And I'm doing things different. This is a year. 2020 is a different year. And boy, is it a different year. I don't think it could get much different than this. Of course, I'm not going to say that too loudly because you never know. But the whole point in a nutshell to all of this is, we've got the time, we've got the ability, we've got the chance. Do something different. Make a change within yourself, make a change within the family, make a change within your friends, reach out to people that you haven't reached out to in the past. Try and express yourself, do something different, do something new, something exciting. Invigorate yourself. Take this moment. It is a bad situation. It's a bad place that we all have to deal with. It's a factor in our lives that we all have to deal with. But let's go ahead and turn this into a positive. Let's not make this whole situation into this whole dread and negativity and everything else. Let's be positive. Let's look forward. Let's understand that this is just a temporary thing in the sand. It's a temporary line. We're going to cross it. We're going to get there. It's a bridge that we have to cross over. But once we're gone and beyond it, you're going to have something brand new, something special out of all of this. And whether it's this program, whether it's having long hair, whether it's having, a better relationship with my family and friends, I don't know what's going to come out of it, but you know what? I'm going into it with my eyes wide open, and I'm going to try and do everything I can to make something totally different, something totally brand new. And I'm going to try and bring you guys along with me. So keep in mind, this is my attempt here is going to do this every week. I'm trying to find a good time slot and a good day to do, because obviously I have other obligations, as do we all. But keep this in mind, and that, we'll be talking about all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'll come up with topics as I go along. And of course, sometimes if I end up drinking a little too much, things might go a little funny. But hey, you know what? That's the nature of the show. I mean, this is Whiskey Musings. Musings meaning thought. Musings, you could also take that into like music, but I don't want to get into copyright issues, so forget that idea. But thought process for sure. And so I just want to kind of close this out. I'm going to close a little early, but I just want to close this out. In the next week, remember your assignment. I want to see some lyrics, limericks, poems, something about this situation, something you may have done, a topic regarding this, and make it funny. I don't want dark. I want funny. I want comedic. I want encouraging. I want positivity through all of this. This is what I want, okay? And if you don't want to send it, post it on a public thing, send it to me. Again, I have an email up. I actually have a website up too. It's called whiskeymusings.net or whiskeymusings, all one word, .online. Either one of those, just send it to rick@whiskeymusings.net or rick@whiskeymusings.online. DM it to me over Facebook. That's fine too. You might even be able to get to the Whiskey Musings Twitter page. It's at Musings Whiskey, because somebody had Whiskey Musings already. It was weird. Somebody in India. But anyway, at Musings Whiskey, and it's capital M, capital W for that. But anyway, send me something. I want to see it. I want to see the positivity. I want to see your creativity. And if I find something funny and you give me permission, I might even read it on air, just like I did this 'Twas the Night Before Christmas thing. I I think we need a little positivity. We need something forward thinking. We need some changes. Make a change to yourself. Make a change. Let's use this time. Let's use this time. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining. I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I'm going to continue, finishing off my drink here, and I'm going to sign off and say, hey, until next time, folks, I appreciate your time and effort in joining, and I look forward to the next time. I want you to take care and keep yourself smiling, keep laughing,